Dying Light 2 Stay Human is the sequel to the 2015 hit zombie game, taking everything we liked best about the original and cranking it to the next level. This time around you play in the shoes of Aiden, a pilgrim that roams the infested world as a post-apocalyptic Amazon driver of sorts, on the hunt for his long-lost sister Maya. Taking place in the walled-in city of Villador, the sprawling post-apocalyptic cityscape is the last bastion of humanity. The problem is that zombies also roam the open world. There's unprecedented verticality in Dying Light 2's open world, levels that Cyberpunk could only aspire to, as you climb skyscrapers, explore abandoned buildings, and clear out infested metro stations. It's here that the upgraded Parker really shines, providing a fast-paced, thoroughly enjoyable way to navigate the environment. Combat is equally as satisfying with an ever-changing roster of melee weapons, customizable using the junk you scavenge as you explore. Want a hammer that spits fire and shocks enemies on impact? Dying Light 2 has you covered. The story is engaging as ever, with more player decisions than I've seen in a game in a very long time, and these can have massive knock-on effects on the overall storyline, so you'd better pay attention. The only annoyance is that there are huge areas of the map, viewable using binoculars on tall buildings that are inaccessible at launch, coming in the form of paid DLC further down the line. The first, dubbed Bloody Ties, is due for release on consoles and PC in October. Deathloop, the latest entry from Arcane, is one of the best games available on the PS5 platform right now, blending satisfying gunplay, tactics, a gorgeous open world that changes throughout the day, and, of course, plenty of swearing. Most of that comes from protagonist Colt, who wakes up on Blackreef Island and finds himself stuck in a time loop. If your day restarted every day, you'd probably be cursing a lot too. Colt soon discovers that in order to destroy the time loop, he must kill 8 visionaries on the same day before midnight. It might sound straightforward, but those pesky visionaries don't stay in one place all day, and that's where things get interesting. It's down to you to explore the regions of Blackreef Island at various times of day, finding out new information, gaining access to new weapons, and upgrading your abilities in order to influence the visionaries. How do you kill 2 visionaries when both are in different areas at the same time of day? You'll have to put your investigative skills to the test in this thrilling FPS. Crucially, the gunplay feels super satisfying, and when combined with the variety of abilities, you'll find new and creative ways to take out the increasingly aggressive inhabitants of the island. When the team at Guerrilla Games first sat down to brainstorm Horizon Forbidden West, the follow-up to PS4 hit Zero Dawn. More weapons, more missions, more mechanical monsters, more unlockable skills, more crafting, even more inventory systems. This is a game that adds a lot, sometimes to a fault. Once again playing as red-headed Huntress Aloy in a post-apocalyptic future, you're tasked with venturing out into the Forbidden West to collect some MacGuffins to rebuild the terraforming AI that should be running the world but has been slacking off a bit. The West mostly looks a lot like the East did really, but rendered in stunning detail thanks to the PS5's power. Gameplay is much the same. There's just more of it though, improved climbing, and a new swimming mechanic help Forbidden West thrive in a post-Breath of the Wild world. The robotic beasties, both large and small, are still the stars of the show, with returning favorites and some standout new additions. When Horizon 3 inevitably rolls around, it could maybe benefit from a little less. At times the clutter of abilities, upgrades, and inventories makes Forbidden West very messy. But if you want an open world to get lost in, then this does the trick nicely. From Software has a reputation for particularly punishing games, hot off the heels of the Dark Souls trilogy and, more recently, Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. Like the rest of the games in the developer's collection, the game is just as gorgeous and even tougher to master. But this one takes place in a brutal open world, far from being locked into a strict path. You can venture through the world as you see fit with very little direction compared to most open-world games filled with objective markers and other hand-holding mechanics. There's none of that here. In fact, you're essentially dropped in at the deep end and simply expected to survive. Classic Souls-like, Amorite, Elden Ring support for multiple playstyles is what shines through, with gamers able to sneak up on unsuspecting foes, blast enemies from afar with spells, or simply rain down hell with their crossbows. Throw in a compelling storyline, An exceptionally well-designed open world and some of the toughest bosses we've come across yet, and you've got a very challenging game that'll really scratch the itch for those that like to be punished. Put simply, if you like the Dark Souls trilogy, you're going to love what Elden Ring has to offer. Lift Apart is a perfect blend of amazing Pixar-level aesthetics, tight gameplay, and an engaging storyline. But it'll still play well even if you've never played a and feel before. The title sees the titular duo follow Dr. Nefarious into the multiverse, hopping between wildly varied open worlds in a bid to stop the comical nemesis from taking over everything. The 15-20-hour campaign is jam-packed, and there's reason to replay the game, with a variety of cheats and skins unlocked throughout your first playthrough. It's still very much a Ratchet and Clank game, but considering it's such a popular format, that's not a bad thing.